All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. This is hour 2 of tonight's show, and we're still coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streaming at classic1220.ca. My guest this hour is no stranger to the X Zone. Over the past, I believe it is now 20 years, I've had the pleasure of talking to this gentleman. He has got to be the busiest man I know who can do the most push-ups in the world. His name is Howard Bloom. His websites are howardbloom.net and howardbloominstitute.net. And joining me now from somewhere in the Batcave atop Gotham City, New York, is my buddy Howard Bloom. And Howard, welcome back to the X Zone, old friend. Great
Rob,
talking to you again.
It is so good to see you. It is ridiculous.
Howard, for the listeners who may not have had the occasion to join it, listen to you since we've gone on to so many new stations and affiliates, can you give us a who's who of who Howard Bloom, who is Howard Bloom?
All right. This sounds terribly immodest, but bear with me. Channel 4 TV says Howard Bloom is the Einstein, Newton, Darwin, and Freud of the 21st century. And Buckminster Fuller's archivist says that Howard Bloom is the Buckminster Fuller and Arthur C. Clarke of the new millennium. So I'm the author of 8 books. I'm finishing the 8th one right now. I appear on radio frequently. What else can I tell you?
I know a few things to say about Howard Bloom.
Go ahead.
This guy invented the 60s. He doesn't like to... Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely right.
You know, you have done work with Billy Joel. You've done work with Michael Jackson, John Cougar Mellencamp, I believe, and I'm just going from memory here.
Mellencamp, ZZ Top, Joan Jett, Billy Idol, a whole mess, about 100 others.
Yeah. So you are someone, and this is why I love having you on the show, and you are one of my dearest friends. And it's been it's been a while since you and I talked, Howard. And in fact, the first thing I asked you when we contacted tonight was, how many push-ups did you do today? And go on, Howard, tell them.
Well, I normally, on a normal day, do 1,270 push-ups. But I got my COVID and RSV shots 2 days ago, and now I'm down to a paltry 790. It is humiliating, Rob.
Yes, I am totally humiliated. 3 push-ups and I'm on my way to the hospital here. And I understand there's a new vaccine coming out called the RSVP because they always want you to come back and take another one. Howard, the world seems on getting crazier and crazier and crazier every time you and I talk. What is going on with Howard Bloom, and what are you focusing on these days, old friend?
Well, I'm focusing on everything, Rob. You know that's my specialty.
Yes, it is.
I invented a field in 2001 called omnology, and it is science for the promiscuously curious. And it basically says it's for you when you reach your sophomore year of college and your dad sits you down and says, look, you are interested in art history, you are interested in neuroscience, you are interested in film. You've got to make up your mind. What are you going to be? An art historian, a neuroscientist, or a filmmaker? And omnology is there so you can say to your dad, screw you, Dad. I'm interested in all three of these things and several other things too. And I'm going to follow my curiosities, all of them, for the rest of my life. And when I hit the age of 40 and all my friends are having midlife crises and they're wondering why in the world they're on planet Earth, I will be coming back from the desert of my multiple curiosities with my very first answers. And while my friends feel they're at the end of their lives, I will know that I'm at the beginning of mine. So we are putting this together as a university course for Kepler Space University in Florida, and then we will hopefully roll it out to other universities and colleges. So that's my field. That's my obligation.
You know, Howard, I don't ever think I told you that when my dad sat me down for that talk, he said, son, I've got to tell you something. Just imagine this, a tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel is success, is everything you've ever dreamed of in life. I said, gee, Dad, that's heavy. That's deep, Dad. And he said, however, in your case, it's going to be an oncoming train. So good luck at it, whatever you do. That is the God's truth.
That is terrific. I mean, it's a little discouraging if you're the one getting that talk, but that's hilarious.
But you see, what I did was I took that talk and with my attitude, yeah, Dad, I'll show you.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's the attitude.
That is
the attitude to have.
Hey,
and the fact is that there's a lot of room in this world for specialists.
Sure,
and specialists are very important. But omnologists are essential to the specialists because it's a omnologist. Look, the specialists are like gophers. They're digging 30-foot deep holes. And it's so dark down there, all they can see is the dirt around them. There have to be people who fly over the landscape like eagles, who see all of those gopher holes, who see how they are connected, who have the big picture. Because in science and in pretty much any field, it's the omnologists, the big picture thinkers who can put together the puzzle pieces of all these specializations, who are able to set the questions for the next generation of specialists. And without those people setting the questions, the specialists would not have a specialty to pursue or a larger landscape, a larger meaning into which their various disciplines fit.
So it is true that it's hard to fly with the eagles when you work with a bunch of turkeys.
No, God, I didn't know you were a comedian, and we've known each other for, it's actually closer to 25 years.
Really? 25 great years of having the pleasure of talking to you once in a while, my friend.
Well, my pleasure, too.
Listen, tell me about the Howard Bloom Institute.
So the Howard Bloom Institute, I have a very peculiar way of thinking, and it includes things like omnology, and it takes a very different look at the affairs of everyday life. When I was 10, I got hooked on science by a book, and that book said the first two rules of science are these: the truth at any price, including the price of your life. And second, look at things right under your nose as if you have never seen them before, and then proceed from there. And these things lead to a very different way of thinking about your own life, your meaning and your position in the universe, what you are here for, and the world around you, right down to everyday events like the headlines that you see. And so I'm 80. So my timestamp is going to be overdue very soon. And I will leave behind me 8 books, although I'm intending to write another 2, possibly 10 books. But then if this mode of thought is of any value to people, it's got to be carried on by other people. And the Howard Bloom Institute is there to make sure that next generations carry this mode of thinking on. And so most of the people in the organization are between the age of 20 and the age of 30.
You say you're 80 years old. I say you're 80 years young, and you're just like a bottle of fine wine. You improve with age, Howard.
Well, what a nice thought.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that were true? But, there are people who are still doing substantive work in their 90s. So let us hope I have another 15 years.
Let's hope you have another 50 years.
And let's hope you have another 50 years, because who in the world am I going to talk to for the next 50 years?
Well, you know, that is inspiration for me to stay on this great planet of ours. So, all right, you've made your point. I'm going to stick around for another 50 years. I don't know what Laura's going to think about that, but I'll tell her after the show.
Yes, let's hope she's happy. So at any rate, so I'm, I do appear on the radio on 545 radio stations once a week. And so every week I am set a task, a homework assignment, to cover a certain topic. And I have to do it on something like 5 hours notice. And it is a very useful exercise. For example, this week, my topic was the foreign minister or defense minister of Taiwan has just announced that there are American troops stationed permanently in Taiwan. What are the implications of that?
Oh, wow.
One of the major papers in London says that this means the world is on the brink, implying that it's on the brink of war. Is that true? Well, yes, it is true. And here's where omnology comes in. There are a whole bunch of firecracker events taking place all around the world, and they look like dissociated events that have nothing to do with each other. But they are not dissociated events. There's Niger, an entire country, which has had treaties with the United States and which has hosted a $250 million military base that just threw the United States out and just took on Russia as its new protector. There is the fact that the Philippines are the America's foreign minister, Tony Blinken, just made a visit to the Philippines to meet with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. And he said that the United States guarantee to the Philippines of defending them in case of attack is ironclad. What does that have to do with the events in Niger? Well, a lot more than you might think.
All right, Howard, why don't we just do this? We've got to take a quick break, so stand by, Howard.
Okay.
Okay. To Howard, don't do too many push-ups on this break, okay? Exonation, my good friend Howard Bloom is our special guest. 2 websites, howardbloom.net and Howard Bloom Institute.
Institute.
Pardon?
howardbloom.institute.
Well, I was just doing that when you told me to tell them.
I know, but the last time you said it with a comma on the end or something.
Oh.
But it's okay.
It's a net, right?
Yeah, it's not a net.
Oh,
it's a howardbloom.institute.
Oh, I see. It's howardbloom.institute.
Right.
Oh, why don't you be more specific? Get back to your do some curls instead. I'll be back on the other side as Howard Bloom continues to break the world record of push-ups here on the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines.
Forgot all about the library like she told her old man now. And with the radio blasting goes cruising just as fast as she can now. And she'll have fun, fun, fun till her daddy takes the TV away. Fun, fun, fun till her daddy takes the TV away.
Welcome back. Howard Bloom is my special guest. howardbloom.net and howardbloom.institute. And we were talking about, Taiwan. We've talked about the Philippines. And how serious and how delicate is the balance when it comes to what China can do or is expected to do?
Well, the balance is very, very delicate indeed. Let's show you the daisy chain that China basically is behind around the world. So you've got Taiwan, where we have American soldiers within almost a mile of the Chinese border. We've got the Philippines, where Chinese ships have been trying to drown smaller Philippine boats by using water cannons on them. And where in one case they deliberately, sideswiped a Chinese boat or a Philippine boat and sank it. We've got Hamas's attack on October 7th, starting a war in Gaza. We've got the Houthis shooting very sophisticated missiles at American warships and at American cargo ships, and actually sinking a British cargo ship in the Red Sea. And all of these events would seem, you've even got, what's his name in Argentina, in Brazil, Lula, declaring that what's going on in Gaza is another Holocaust. And all these things would seem to be disconnected, but they are not, because there's a little thing, a military alliance on this globe right now called the Axis of Evil. And it includes China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, Syria, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba. And it's trying to tempt in countries like Brazil, and it's going great guns at winning them over. And this is a military alliance. It is deliberately not named. It is deliberately not spoken of, and yet it is real as real can be. And every one of these events, from the Philippines to Brazil that I've mentioned, is on the fault lines where two tectonic plates are clashing. The tectonic plates of democracy and the tectonic plates of autocracy, of dictatorship. And it's a very dangerous situation, because Xi Jinping on Monday, just a few days ago, Xi Jinping, the total autocrat of China, the man who single-handedly runs China, Xi said that the West is trying to encircle us. Now, encirclement in military law is considered a legitimate grounds for war. He basically says America and the West are trying to encircle us, to choke us off, and to stop our development. Now, development, meaning economic growth, is sacred to Xi Jinping. And it's sacred for a simple reason, because Xi has a basic purpose when it comes to international affairs. It is to overtake the U.S., to take the position of what it calls a hegemon that the United States currently has. That position is basically having the leadership of the world. And Xi wants that position of leadership of the world for China. But to achieve it, he knows he has to continue China's economic growth. And he blames the stalling of China's economic growth on all of the measures that the United States has taken against China's economy. But guess what? Those measures are very similar to measures that the Chinese have taken against the Western economy for years. The Chinese have stolen Western technologies, American technologies in particular, and stolen Western manufacturing know-how, and have become extremely good at mass production of highly sophisticated goods. They've also become very good at developing their own new technologies, their own new goods, but they still rely primarily on the technologies from the West. So
and then there's that new technology that China has called Temu.
Yes.
God.
And Temu is very effective at what it does. But the point is that China has basically said, Xi Jinping himself has basically said, you are taking us to the brink of war. And we will have no choice but to make war with you. The defense minister for China, first, Xi made his speech on Monday and made the cover of People's Daily in China, one of the biggest newspapers there. And the day after that, the head of its military followed up with a news statement of his own. And he said, you Westerners expect that you can keep hitting us and that you can keep insulting us and that we will simply not respond. Well, you're wrong. You are forcing us to do whatever any normal human would do in self-defense. You are forcing us to fight back. So China's making it very clear that they feel surrounded and squashed, and that they will eventually respond to being surrounded and squashed by lashing out militarily. And of course, the place where they're prepared to strike out militarily is Taiwan. China has built the biggest navy in the world. The Navy of the United States is no longer the world's biggest, not by a long shot. China's is. And why have they built that navy? In part to retake Taiwan, and also to basically defend, in their terms, the economic corridor that they are building, the Belt and Road Initiative, that is supposed to go all the way from Sichuan to Lisbon in Portugal. I mean, it's supposed to go all the way the 6,800 miles or so from the Atlantic to the Pacific. And all of that is their territory. They've been taking over, or they believe so. They've been taking over ports in other countries. I think they own 115 ports or something like that by now. And they have a grand vision for a next generation global project that will benefit the globe in many ways. However, they make it very clear that, first of all, when it comes to democracy, the United States is lying about real democracy. Only China has real democracy, they have said in the last week. And Xi Jinping is absolutely ferocious about exterminating Western ideas. And the two ideas on the top of his list that he wants to exterminate are human rights and rule of law. So if China succeeds with its Belt and Road Initiative, if it succeeds in its move to win over the global South, the 65 countries or so of the global South, its plans are very simple. Human rights, democracy as we know it, representative democracy rather than democracy by dictatorship, and rule of law, all of these things will go.
What is their nuclear capability, Howard?
Well, they have, I believe it's about 600 nuclear weapons at this point. They are striving to have 12,000 or so by 2030. They are striving to catch up with the United States and with Russia. But it is sufficient to obliterate the United States. And then there's the nuclear capability of North Korea, its partner in the axis of evil, who now have 60 nuclear warheads and who have shown the world, who have done their best to demonstrate to you and me that they have missiles capable of striking Ottawa, capable of striking New York City, Toronto, Los Angeles, and they're putting those weapons, they're planning to put those weapons not only have they got them on trucks so they can move them around and we can't do a preemptive strike in North Korea itself, but they are working to put them on submarines so they can strike from near our shores.
So what is the game plan of the United States and other countries that are allies, including Canada, when it comes to stopping this before it gets to the point of no return?
This is tricky. You can only stop it through strength. And one of the reasons that this Chinese-Russian plan is taking off great guns is because their relative strength is coming to near parity with our relative strength. And they have a secret weapon. They have what Russia calls a useful idiot, who is blowing up the American political system and is blowing up the Western alliance, the alliance of the free world. And his name is Donald Trump. And he so fractured NATO that NATO ceased to become a serious opposition for Russia. Then, of course, he was yanked out of office and Joe Biden came in. Joe Biden has been working very hard to resurrect those NATO ties and to build equivalent ties in the Pacific to confront China. Joe Biden is a coalition builder and Donald Trump is a coalition destroyer, exactly what Russia needs. more effective than a bunker busting bomb.
So
Or,
if this war happens, Howard, and I apologize for cutting you off. If this war does happen, is this going to be another war by proxy like the United States with Vietnam?
not really, because the United States has made absolute commitments under Joe Biden to jump in if China tries to invade Taiwan, and to jump in with our own forces. So that means our forces would be face to face with the forces of China, and things would get very, very nasty. The only thing that would stop that is if Donald Trump won in November. And if he won in November, he would never go to Taiwan's defense. And he would do exactly what he did with Afghanistan. He surrendered Afghanistan without even consulting the government of Afghanistan about it. And he will surrender whatever he needs to surrender to keep what he believes is the peace, which really means to keep his ability to make money and have power, and to get unending slews of praise in effect.
All right, Howard, please stand by. We have to take our second break here. Exonation Howard Bloom is our special guest. 16,963. By the way, that's the number of push-ups he's done since the beginning of the show. HowardBloom.net and HowardBloom.institute are the two websites. And my good friend Howard and I will return on the other side of this short break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streaming around the world on classic1220.ca.
Well, she got her daddy's car and she cruised through the hamburger stand now. Seems she forgot all about the library like she told her own.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. My guest is Howard Bloom, and his websites are howardbloom.net and howardbloom.institute. Howard, just based on the current political atmosphere in the United States, who do you think is going to win the election this November?
Well, Donald Trump has had the edge.
Okay.
But this judgment against him for $543 million is delivering a kind of blow to Donald Trump that Donald Trump is not accustomed to. And it's also, he hasn't been doing well in bringing in campaign donations. He's way behind Joe Biden in bringing in campaign donations. So, and look, the guy is a lifelong criminal. He's been ripping people off left and right. And every time he's done it, he's gotten away with it. So he expected to get away with it this time. He may not get away with it this time. And that may change the course of things. But if that makes him look only like a greater messiah, a greater sacrificial victim on behalf of his chosen people, who knows what will happen? But he's ahead of Joe Biden by significant margins in all the polls at this point. And if he becomes the American, well, first of all, if he loses the election, he is going to declare once again that he won overwhelmingly and is going to try to overturn the legitimate election. And if he gets into the White House again, he is never going to voluntarily leave. And he is going to set up his family to continue after he's no longer able to be president for life. His role model is the Kim dynasty, in North Korea. He feels he has a love affair with the Kim family because they've achieved exactly what he wants, to be able to put one of his sons in power after he goes, and then to continue that dynasty. The democracy of the United States will cease to exist as we know it.
But doesn't he know that's not the way it works?
He's one of those people who, like Steve Jobs, fabricates an alternative reality and then believes in it so passionately that he is willing, day after day, minute after minute, to pursue it with all the force that's in him. And it's people like that who change reality, sometimes for better, like Steve Jobs, sometimes for worse.
It'll be interesting, my friend, and I'm sure you and I will have many discussions going into the political arena. That's going to... Why I say political arena? Because it's going to be another circus.
It's going to be another circus, and that reminds me, have I ever told you the song of that, or the story of that song that you were playing, Uptown Girl?
No, but that's why I played it, because Billy Joel is one of your friends.
Was a client, yes. So here's the story. Now, first of all, why would a science nerd go into a field he knew nothing about, popular culture? Well, I was fascinated by the fact that it's group experiences that produce individual ecstasies. And individual ecstasies and group experiences are fascinating to me.
Are you talking about groupies?
No, not just that. There's lots more.
Okay.
But no, when you perform, Rob, you've performed on stage a few times.
Yep.
And when you go on stage in front of an audience, sometimes you have an out-of-body experience.
Yes, that's true.
It's as if something else takes you over. You become an empty pipe for the energies of the audience. You see those energies coalesce and reach out to you as if the audience was a big amoebic blob and it reached a pseudopod, a tunnel out to you. And the energy of that entire audience goes through you up to somewhere around your head. Gets utterly transmogrified up there and is channeled back down through you to the audience. And it's a continuous reverberatory loop. And all the normal you can do is hang around on the ceiling and watch this strange thing happen. And that's a massive group experience, but it's also an extraordinary individual experience. And it is the height of what some people would call the spiritual experience. And I wanted to know what this is about. Science is not science until it can understand such things, or not fully science until it can understand such mysteries. So I went into a field I knew nothing about as a scientific expedition, literally into the forces of history. And that's how I ended up working with Michael Jackson, Prince, Bob Marley, Bette Midler, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Kiss, Queen, Run DMC, etc. So one day, Billy Joel was my client. I had not seen him for about 6 months. I felt I needed to get in sync with him again. I don't normally hang out with anybody, but I called Billy and said, why don't we hang out? So I went over to the hotel on Central Park South, where he had an apartment, and waited for him down by the elevators to come downstairs so we could have breakfast together out on the sidewalk. It was one of the first days of spring. It was, those days
I sure
when
do.
Women who have been buried in bulky winter coats all winter long have suddenly shed those coats. And when they walk by, you can now see their legs. You can now see their arms. I mean, for men who are perpetually horny, it is a feast. So Billy and I went to sit outdoors at Rathskeller's, watching the girls go by. And when Billy came down that elevator, he had one of those little black marbled notebooks that you used to have as a child in first grade and second grade. And I had no idea why he had it. And when we went to Rathskeller's, he put it down on the table. And he said, you know why I have this notebook? I had no clue why he had this notebook. He said, well, when I was young, we used to stand around watching all the girls go by. And if we scored one, it was all about bragging to the guys about what you'd done. And we didn't really regard girls or women as humans. We regarded them as a different kind of species. But last night, he said, I met a woman who was on the par of a male when it came to her level of intelligence. And I was absolutely fascinated. And I came home and he said, you know how hard it is for me to write a song. It takes me 3 months. And I pace back and forth next to my grand piano and I call it the beast with 88 teeth because it resists me so much. It fights me so much. But last night, I sat down at 3 a.m. after coming back from meeting this woman, and I wrote 12 songs. And they are in this notebook. And one of them was Uptown Girl. And the girl he was talking about, who he had been talking with the previous night, who was the first woman he'd ever met, who met him as an equal, was named Christy Brinkley.
Yeah.
So, you know, here we go from geopolitics to the most intimate of stories about a truly creative person who has made contributions to our culture, to our society. And how do these things relate? And how do they relate to new discoveries about galaxies that formed a mere 450 million years after the Big Bang? These are all forms of group behavior. Diving into them is diving into the mysteries of what makes the cosmos tick and how the cosmos has come alive in people like you, me, and Billy Joel. It is all connected, and not in a woohoo kind of way, but in a scientific kind of way, and finding out how is the big mystery. And that's been one of the most basic challenges of my life.
And what did you come away with after working with the stars and those executives in the music industry?
Well, the most important thing I came away with, you know this from our past conversations, is my relationship with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson was the most amazing human being I ever met. In fact, was so far beyond what I ever imagined a human could be that it was ridiculous. So he showed me new frontiers in what humans could be. Words are not enough for me to describe how remarkable he was. I'm not easily stunned, amazed, astonished. At least I think I am not easily stunned, amazed, and astonished. But Michael stunned me, astonished me, and amazed me in ways that I admired so profoundly that Michael will remain one of the most profound things I've ever experienced in life. And he shows the ability in every one of us to have almost infinite waves of amazement if we open ourselves to it. Because Michael was amazed by everything. He was the first 2 rules of science incarnate. The truth at any price, including the price of your life. He would do anything to uplift his audience, anything to astonish and surprise them, to delight them, that he possibly could. But what he meant by that was he had levels of astonishment, delight, and amazement that are beyond human. And he wanted his kids to have that same level of astonishment, delight, and amazement. And that was one of the most revelatory things that I've ever been exposed to in my life. And it showed the bounds, new bounds of human possibility. And new bounds of human possibility are ultimately what this cosmos has been aching toward for 13.8 billion years.
I think when it comes to Michael Jackson, there were a lot of people who were envious of his ability, of his talents, of his humanity and his heart. And he didn't deserve any of it.
No, he didn't.
No.
And because he was the most innocent person I've ever met in my life. And they saw power. They saw money. They saw position. Having a position near Michael or being able to control him was the ultimate in power grabs. And unfortunately, those people got more. We've talked about this in the past, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Those people got more out of Michael dead than alive. They bragged 2 years after his death. They literally threw a press conference. and bragged 2 years after his death that he was now worth twice what he had been worth when he was alive.
Howard,
That
stand by.
is foolish and unacceptable.
We've got to take our final break, old friend. Exonation Howard Bloom is our guest. HowardBloom.net and HowardBloom.institute. Howard and I return as we wrap up tonight's show here on the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, coming to you from our studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. Walk Away Renee by Left Bank. I love that song, and I love the chorus, but when the guy sings, I have no idea what they're saying. I just love the tune.
Good. Just so I'm not alone.
Okay, Howard Bloom is my guest. First of all, Howard, thanks very much for coming on the show, and always great pleasure. And I hope that we have you back sooner than we did in the past. That's number one, old friend. Congratulations on all you do. And I guess one of the biggest things I am grateful for you, Howard, is that you've always tried to make this world a better place and bring people together and to unify the world in peace and harmony.
Well, the Howard Bloom Institute is a very amazing team. And we had a member who had been enormously helpful to us, who was trying to get me to allow him to put together a board of directors and a president and a vice president and to be what he called a professional organization. Well, there's no way we can be a professional organization because we are a group of misfits. I am a misfit. The members of the group are misfits, and misfits can produce things of enormous value to the world. It was misfits who were people like, for the worst, Alexander the Great, Plato, Aristotle, all of these people, Napoleon. Napoleon was a short little guy who was interested in mathematics and books, for God's sakes. But more important, people like Einstein, who made major contributions. And so the task is basically to demonstrate that misfits have an important role to play in the world. They normally feel lost and unappreciated and alone. And there is no reason they should be lost and unappreciated and alone, because they are a resource, because they see things differently than people who are normal can see them. And thus the people who are normal need them desperately.
I think you should open up a YouTube channel and get yourself a Twitter feed and get yourself shirts that say, Misfits Matter.
Yes.
Will work for other people.
Well, the T-shirts that we are about to put on sale say we are the gods. And they say we are the gods for a simple reason. Because whether you believe in God or not, God is an aspiration.
Oh, big time, yeah.
The idea of being omniscient and knowing everything, the idea of being infinitely good, these are aspirations of humanity. And it is up to us to live up to those aspirations, as Michael Jackson did without even trying. It was natural to him. It was simply the way he was born. But all of us can aim toward that. And all of us have the responsibility of making this a more just and astonishing place to live.
I'll vote for you tomorrow. That's it. That's it. Howard Bloom for president. Da, 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 da. Hey, Howard, I have to ask you something. You deal with everything, and I mean that in a very positive and complimentary way. I have to ask you, Did you watch the congressional hearings on UAP UFOs?
No, I don't have time to do that sort of thing. How did it go?
It sucked.
Oh, God. So what were the positive aspects of it?
It was over.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
So let's get on to the next part.
Right.
What's happening between, Russia has this PR stature of being the bear, all knowing, all controlling. How come they still haven't beaten the Ukraine yet?
Well, the Ukrainians have done a whole bunch of things that have not been publicized,
Oh.
that you haven't seen in the news. The Ukrainians have built these autonomous speedboats that can go roughly 250 to 300 miles. They have blown up a third of Russia's Baltic fleet,
Wow.
which seemed invincible. So the Baltic fleet, which was controlling the entire Baltic and not allowing any cargo shipments of Ukrainian grain, the shipments that Ukraine depends on economically, to go out. But now the remaining ships are cowering in a corner of the Black Sea, afraid to venture out on further waters because they'll be blown up by the Ukrainians and these nasty little autonomous ships. In the meantime, they've also developed autonomous drones with a 300-mile range. And they've blown up 3 major Russian oil refineries in the last 3 months, in the first months of this year. And they also, using American weapons, have taken out close to $1 billion, $700 million worth of Russia's aircraft since the beginning of the year. And these are things that don't get publicized. The Ukrainians are running out of artillery shells, which is horrible because it makes it difficult for them to stop Russian advances into their territory. And they're running out because the United States only produces 28,000 artillery shells a month. And of course, we're not providing them right now because Congress, it's Congress that is holding things up. The Republicans are holding things up in Congress. But the fact is, 28,000 artillery shells only last 4 days in the Ukraine war. Russia has used as many as 50,000 artillery shells in a single day, actually 60,000. Well, 60,000 is more than twice the entire capacity of America's artillery shell making equipment. So the Ukrainians are running out of shells, but through persistence, bravery, and cleverness, they are continuing to inflict major damage on the Russians. And meanwhile, there is a news magazine cover I just found earlier today that has a picture of Xi Jinping on it, and it says and I believe it's a South American publication, and it says Xi Jinping, the most powerful man in the world. So even though Vladimir Putin would love to be the new czar and the new world leader, he's not capable of doing that. But Xi Jinping, who has an economy that is many, many, many times the size of the Russian economy, is in a position to be the most powerful man in the world.
I also read this week that Mr. Putin was saying that if there was any advancement by the Western allies, that he had no problems with pushing the nuclear button.
No, that's been a mainstay of Russian military policy ever since Vladimir Putin utterly reworked Russian military strategy approximately 22 years ago. And it's like putting a comma in a sentence to use a tactical nuclear weapon. The United States stopped developing tactical nuclear weapons many, many decades ago. Russia did not. And Russia has a full arsenal of tactical nuclear weapons. And what is a tactical nuclear weapon? It's a weapon to be used on the battlefield against another enemy's troops, not to be used against an enemy's cities.
How close do you think we are to Putin pushing that button?
We're very close, but it's not the button to wipe out London, New York, and Washington. It is the button to wipe out a bunch of Ukrainian troops and to set an example for others who would dare resist the Russians. And remember, what nobody seems to have realized is that in the November before the February, in a February, Vladimir Putin sent his troops into the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. But 2 months or 3 months earlier, he made a statement saying the world has to recognize that Russia has certain valid security interests. And those valid security interests involve giving us back all of the territory that we had in the days of the Soviet Union, meaning Poland and Eastern Germany and parts of the Baltic states and roughly a third of Europe. He basically said, I want you to give me a third of Europe or else. And then came the or else, the march into the Ukraine. So the march into the Ukraine is only a first step to get that third of Europe that Vladimir Putin covets back. And that, too, is just the beginning because he is the successor. He views himself as a successor to, what's her name, the Great, Catherine the Great,
yeah.
Who expanded the Russian Empire tremendously. And his mission, as he sees it, his fate, his destiny, is to increase the size of the Russian Empire in the same way that she did. And as his chief poodle, his former president, Medvedev, likes to put it, that means having territory all the way from Vladivostok to Lisbon. All of Europe.
Howard, the time is coming very short where I have to say so long to you, my friend. But I just want to ask you, what is the homeless situation like in New York City?
Very, very bad. Too many people are homeless even out of my neighborhood. When I take my walk through the park every night, my little 2.5 mile walk, my short walk through the park, I go through a tunnel where there is between 1 and 3 people sleeping.
Oh, God.
A tunnel in a beautiful, gorgeous park. And this is one of the most affluent sections of New York City, Park Slope, Brooklyn. It was a slum when I first moved into it.
In your opinion, Howard, is there a way to stop homelessness?
That is a real tough nut to crack because in my experience with some of the homeless people who I've had as friends, you put them in a normal situation, they will rip it apart. They will destroy it. They are not sane. They cannot be kept under any form of normal housing that you can imagine. I mean, this whole homelessness movement started in the 1960s when we started shutting down insane asylums with the idea that insane people are more sane than you and I, and if we just let them out on the streets, they would do wonderfully. And it's not true. It is not true.
Howard, I want to thank you ever so much for coming on the show, my friend. And please come back and visit us soon. I miss you, old friend.
I will. You know I adore you.
Take care.
I will see you again soon.
All right, Howard. God bless. Take care and keep those push-ups coming.
Thanks, Rob. Have a great night.
You too, Howard. Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Howard and how he invented the 60s, it's a great story. Visit his website, howardbloom.net. And the new Howard Bloom Institute is howardbloom.institute. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. So until tomorrow night, my friends, remember, always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.
You don't have to go home.